All right, we're live. So today, I appreciate you all joining me. We're going to have some discussions about some research that goes on in some of those results. I just want to share that information with you because that's something that most people don't get. There's a lot of myth out there. We can dispel some of this myth by having discussions of what has been researched, what has been confirmed, and what we have verified in some way. And oftentimes when they do research, those researches are repeated by other researchers, either exactly the same or similarly, and we can test and retest and evaluate those research. Now, there's some obvious things that we all know. Exercise helps you as far as your health, as far as reducing cardiovascular disease. There's been all kinds of repeated research on that. We know that for a fact, and that is true. And it's been overdone. Oftentimes they keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I just like to branch out and talk about newer research, newer findings, and what have you. Or also to educate people about things we already know that people keep misunderstanding and misinterpreting. But yeah, that's just about what I want to talk about. The research I want to talk about has to do with diabetes because there's still so much misconception around the world and even in America about diabetes and how to overcome it. But even before that, one thing I want to really touch on is the fact that um, a lot of the times um, most newspapers, media outlets, TV, whatever, they only tend to highlight and emphasize research that has been done at Harvard or something. Yeah, we all know that Harvard is a reputable institution and all that stuff. We know they're great, they have great researchers, great people, but they're not the only ones who do research. Come on now. There are many other institutions out there that have great scientists, great researchers, great, teams, and we can't just focus as if Harvard is the only one that can give us good work. Some of the best research out there in science, in public health, in medicine, what have you, come outside of that. Even come outside of the Ivy League as a whole. So we got to tamp down this whole Harvard or Yale thing that there's so many universities out there, so many researchers out there that do great work. I mean, some of the best inventions that come out of other institutions and places. Even people are not even scientists, so we gotta ease out from that whole how about this, how about that. But one thing I want to talk about today, emphasize on is diabetes. There's just been so many misconceptions about diabetes. On a basic level, we got two of them, right? We got type 1 diabetes that's congenital. People are born with this, right? And they need insulin injections right from when they're young. Okay, that's type 1 diabetes. And then you got type 2 that develops as you get older or as you become obese or severely overweight. That is type 2 diabetes. And oftentimes you may have heard of something they call pre-diabetic, which when someone is most likely young and overweight, and they're on the borderline of being diabetic. They're not fully there yet. Because the body is beginning to develop insulin resistance. So they're like pre-diabetic, they're not fully there yet. And the one thing you gotta know is that for type 2 diabetes that you develop as you get older or overweight, that can be reversed. Okay? And the number one way to reverse that is by losing weight. Because as you get all that excess fat, it becomes harder and harder for the insulin that the body produces to reach the necessary areas to reduce your blood sugar. And so to help improve that again, you gotta lose some weight. And that's where everything comes in. So the research has shown that, obviously when you do exercise and you stay fit, stay healthy, you can reverse all that diabetic, complications and go from having type 2 diabetes to becoming healthy and not having diabetes again, not even needing to take insulin or whatever. So we just gotta understand how that goes. Oftentimes people think it's just sugar. Blood sugar is different from just, taking sugar. If you stop, having sugar in your diet, that's not gonna reverse type 2 diabetes automatically. That's not what it's about, okay? Whatever you eat, your body can break it down and convert it to glycogen and glucose, right? Because that's a fuel for your body. the body can manufacture that from the food you eat. Okay, so that blood sugar is the conversion of your food. You eat meat, it gets converted to glucose, whatever, in your blood. And if you don't have enough insulin being produced or being responsive, body responsive, the blood sugar goes up. So that's the issue that we gotta, understand. That it's not about just taking direct sugar, but eating too much food. And that's what being overweight is about, eating too much. You cut down on that food, you exercise, you get back to being healthy. Type 2 diabetes gets reversed. And that's the crux of the information I want to share. I'm gonna keep going over it. If you got questions, we can talk about it. But let's get straight down to working out. I'm doing a workout marathon today for as much as I want to do, for as long as I can possibly do. I haven't done a video in a while, probably a week or so. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna do some warm-ups. I'm gonna do some squats, push-ups, curls, dips, all that stuff today. Okay, I'm gonna go hard as I can. So let's get started with it without any more, holding back anything else. Let's go. And I'm gonna start hard with my vest. Okay. A 20-pound vest. So I'm gonna go hard today. Make sure I lose as much weight as possible. And get as hard as we possibly can. And tell you guys what, always make sure you go hard. And like I've said before, if you don't have the time to work out, if you get just one day to work out in a week, you put in 2-3 hours, that's gonna make up for all the days you didn't work out, based on science. And I'm not talking about bodybuilding, because oftentimes people keep thinking everything's about bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is a different sport entirely. There's a different science about that. I'm just talking about being fit and healthy. To stay that healthy, if you can do once a week, 2 hours, that is scientifically good enough for you to stay healthy and fit and maintain your fitness. So it doesn't have to be an everyday thing. It doesn't have to be 5 days a week. Just find sufficient time to go get it going. Let's get started today. I'm gonna do some muscle failure. And usually I do 20-30 with the vest on, with my legs raised, going all the way down here in the clicks. So for this one, I'm gonna do it to muscle failure, and then I'm gonna take a break and then do my dips, all right? So let's see how much I can do with my vest on. This is a 20-pound vest, and you can use it as much as you can. If you don't have a vest and you have a workout partner, you can have like a weight on your back, and you can have them stabilize the weight, or you can stabilize the weight as you're going up and down. But you can also just hold on to the weight. However much you can do. You can start with 25 pounds, 45 pounds, whatever you want to do. It's going to be much harder. This is much harder with your legs raised, going all the way up and down with the weight on. So let's see how far we can go. Let's get it. All right, here we go. 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 33, 35. So that's where I'm going to start. Muscle failure. It's a lot harder than just going flat with your legs on the ground and without a weight. So if I was doing that, I would do a lot more, at least 60 or so. This increases the intensity of the push-ups. I encourage you all to do clean push-ups because you get a lot more out of it And I've explained the whole push-up science, what makes it more difficult than regular push-ups and how you can increase intensity. And I'll go over it one more time. Now, when you're doing push-ups, the higher your feet is above your head, the harder the push-ups is. And the higher your head is above your legs, the easier the push-ups are. And so to explain again, my head is right up here, my feet is down here. That's as high as you can possibly get my full height. So if I'm pushing off against the wall, that's the easiest push-up I could possibly do, right? The hardest push-up I could possibly do is the reverse. I'm basically standing on my head with my feet raised all the way up vertically, resting on the wall, and I'm pushing off the ground. That is the hardest level of push-up without any weights, whatever. That's level 10, weights not included. Level 1, standing straight, pushing off the wall. Then as I lean forward, my head is getting closer to my legs, right? As I'm pushing off, slanting on the wall, or the window or window rest or on the table, the lower I get, the harder I get. So if I'm pushing off of a chair or whatever, I'm getting lower, it's getting harder and harder because now my head height is getting closer to my leg level, right? Now when you're flat, you have level head and level legs. That's basically like, the midpoint. Now you start raising the legs higher, the legs are not going to get higher than your head, right? The leg height, higher than your head height, it gets harder and harder up until you're fully vertical. So that's the degree of push-ups, push-up difficulty. So if you see someone doing push-up on a platform, that's kind of easy because the head height's a little bit higher than the leg height. So just the physics or the science behind it, how hard it gets. Just remember that if you want to start off easy, just use something like, as you want to get harder, you keep going, raising your feet higher, higher, higher. And then for more intensity, add some weights. And that's how you go. All right, let's do some dips to muscle failure. Let's see how much you can get done. All right. Five. 10. 15. 20. 25. 30. 35. 40. Oof. Oh boy. Oh. So that's where we are on this. All right. And hey, Let's catch our breath. Whew. Okay. All right, we're back. If you got any questions, hit me up. I'm happy to answer questions. Um, One thing about, just exercise and fitness, and it's just about, pushing back misconceptions and whatnot, and myths. Uh, the more workout you do, right, the more calories you're most likely going to burn. Even if your body shuts down a bunch of other things so that it can focus and just exercise, you're still going to burn more because that's just a lot of energy that you're expending, depending on how intense exercise is, right? Because come to think of it, if you're working out, you're not doing a whole bunch of digestion and stuff. There might be bowel movements because you're basically pushing things around, squeezing things around and stuff. A bunch of other things like digestion, that's out of the door. Sexual stimulation, that's out of the door. If you're working out and you're having an erection, I don't think you're working out, you're not focused. Because the body's just going to be focused on all the blood that's pumping, they're all going to the muscles. Nothing's going down there. So it's about focusing all that energy in just one thing. Because for guys to have an erection, stimulation, whatever, now it's blood being pumped into a particular muscle. And you need that blood going to your muscles to work out. So that's just the whole physiology of everything. So you burn a lot more calories. The more you work out, the more calories you burn. And as such, the more calories you're going to need to take. So it doesn't make sense. If you like eating food, the best thing you want to do is working out. Because the more you work out, the more energy you expend, and the more you're going to enjoy eating. Because honestly, I enjoy eating, but I get tired of eating. It's sort of like the worst thing if you want to build muscle, being tired of eating, because that's something bodybuilders do a lot. They just eat. They spend more time eating than they spend working out. They spend more time eating than they spend sleeping. It's just eating. Wake up and eat. Because there's just so much energy that you expend. Professional athletes, Olympians training, they eat 10,000, 15,000 calories. If you was not working out, you'd be like obese, eating that much calories. Maybe even die from it. When you spend so much energy, the body can take on calories. So if you enjoy eating, the best thing you can do is work out. It'll be a waste of energy, but I'll tell you what, you're not going to get overweight or obese. And also, if you notice, most professional athletes that are not conscious or intelligent enough, once they retire, they gain weight. Unless they intentionally focus on losing weight and go through a training regimen to lose weight, most of them just gain weight because you're no longer expending all the energy, you're not burning fuel, so they just balloon like, look at professional players, they just get big after they retire. But, to keep it up, you gotta change your whole lifestyle, your diet, your food, and all that stuff. So, I'm gonna try to do 20 more push-ups. And then we'll keep going. But just remember, the more workout you do, the more you can eat anything. And personally, I don't have restrictions on how much I eat because I'm never eating enough. I'm more likely to lose weight than gain weight. Unless I like really push myself to eat a whole lot more, then I start getting all that muscle weight. It's just hard to maintain it. And I did a research the other time to see how much I lose after one workout. And it was between 1 to 2 pounds per workout. After like 45 to 1 hour workout, I lose 1 to 2 pounds. So imagine that doing that in a week. I'm losing about 14 pounds if I don't eat anything or drink anything, right? But because I eat and I drink, I replace the calories that I burn. I mean, if I don't eat enough, I lose weight because of the workout I did that day. So just remember that it's easy to not gain weight. Like over 70%, almost 80% of Americans are overweight. Like we gotta do better as a country. Let's go to the gym, workout, eat less, and you lose all that weight. Easy. And always try to measure. When you measure your stuff, you see the progress you're making, and you're good. Let's go with 20 more. All right. Five. 10. 15. 20. Woo. Woo. Take a break. And if you ever have the chance, and you see me working out, join in. These are workouts you can do anywhere. You can do it in the gym. You can do it at home. You can even do it on the street. Now, as far as work goes, it depends on where you work. You obviously don't want to sweat while you're at work. But if it's something where you're self-employed, you have a little more liberty, take 10 minutes out of the work day and do some workout. Your body needs it. Human beings cannot survive without exercising. The truth of the matter is, and I've talked about this before, I gotta take this off. Just because of the heat. It's weighing down my shoulders. My shit is heavy. Human beings cannot live without workout. So not without workout, without exercise. But the thing there is that we do get physical activity every day. I'm starting right now without work. I'm walking around, going up and down, going to get some food, taking the trash. And just my daily activity is in itself a workout, but these are light physical activities. Most of the times they're not intense. And sometimes if you move very slowly, that is insufficient. The slower we move, the less calories we burn. Okay, the more heavy things we move, and the faster we move, the more calories we burn, the more exercise we're getting. The slower we move, the less we're burning, and the less we move, the less we're burning. So every time we're doing something, eating, that's some type of physical activity, some type of exercise, because the muscles are in motion. But it's not enough, it's not like intense. So that's why even when somebody doesn't go to the gym, has a sedentary job, they still can survive every day. Because just your basic task of eating food, taking a shower, putting on your clothes, you're actually moving your body, your muscles. So that can allow somebody to survive to be like 50 years or something. And regardless of how they try, you still get to do stuff. You still walk around and do some more. Unless we're like in a coma, bedridden, or someone has become so obese. Like some of these guys on reality TV shows, 600 pounds, 500 pounds, 800 pounds, they can't even move off the bed without support. That's when it begins to go down the hill. And a person who has very minimal movement is bedridden, within about a decade, if they're 30 years old, they might not live to see 40. Because that's how much the body needs exercise and physical activity. So if we go down the list of things our body needs to survive, you got air, in a matter of minutes you could die. You got water, in a matter of days you could die if you don't have some. You got food, in a matter of months you could die if you don't eat any food, but you're drinking water. And then we got exercise. In a matter of years, a decade, if you have zero exercise, within about 10 years, you'll be dead. That's what your body needs. But obviously, because you move around a little bit, walk to the store, walk to the gym, climb up the stairs, even though we have any intent to do a workout, we're still moving around physical activity. So about 20 years. So let's say someone is 30 years old, you get a sedentary job, like a bus driver, and they don't like to move around a lot. They don't stand out, they just sit all day, walk home, sit on the couch, go to sleep. About 20 years, by the time they're 50, they're gone. But because we kind of move around a little bit, that pushes up to about 30 years. So about 60 years old, you're done with that exercise from 30 until the kind of lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle. So it's really essential to work out and exercise. And let's assume you don't have any other bad habits like smoking, excess drinking, and all that stuff. So in about a decade or two, you're dead without exercise. So it's important, it's vital to us to keep staying healthy, lead a healthy life. Remember that these are facts. These are not myths. These are absolute facts. Your body needs exercise. If you see people who have had injuries, be it a broken bone or people in a coma or bedridden, when they recover, their legs or arms or whatever have atrophied. They've lost a lot of muscle on that limb. Why? Because they were bedridden, they weren't walking, running, lifting weights, and so you lose the muscle. If you don't use the muscles, you're gonna lose them. They don't just stay there just for the heck of it. You lose all that muscle strength and all that muscle mass. So you gotta use them, which is why the more heavy weights you lift, the bigger your muscles get because you're using them. It's very simple principle. The more you use your muscle, the bigger they get. The bigger the weight, the bigger they get. So those are the principles of muscle building, maintaining muscle mass, and staying healthy. Pretty straightforward. But we make it complicated by overdoing things. Yeah. Workout marathon. I'm trying to expand some energy. I haven't done so in a minute, so let's get it. And I encourage you guys to do the same like I'm saying. If you only have 1 hour a week, make the most out of that 1 hour. It doesn't have to be 5 days a week. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes every day. If you got just one day, go as much as you can, 2 hours, 3 hours, and make the most of that exercise, that workout. You're gonna get the benefits regardless. All right, let's do some dips. I'm going for 3 straight. Okay, and the dip here, in case you don't know, it really helps with the triceps and your shoulders. And if any of you might remember, after like a tournament, I had a sore left shoulder. I could barely sleep, could barely move it. I kept doing my exercise because, like I told you guys, one-on-one research about exercise is that the more you move your muscle, right, I even said it today indirectly. The more blood flows to that muscle. So you probably have heard what called a pump, right? When someone goes to the gym to work out, you get a pump. What exactly is the pump? A pump simply means your blood in your muscle, your body is going to those muscles. It's getting pumped to those muscles. That's what a pump is. It gets bigger. Same thing with an erection. An erection simply means blood is flowing to that part of the body. That's a pump. The heart is a pump. So if I say I'm getting a pump, that means my body is pumping blood to that part of the muscle, making it bigger, temporarily, right? So if you have an injury, sore muscles, the more you work out, the more blood flows there, the faster it's going to heal. The faster nutrients go there, the faster the blood goes there, everything is just going to heal, repair being done. It's almost like you're pushing workers to fix that part of the body. So it's pretty much here right now. There's a tiny little bit of sensation of feeling like, exerts enough, pressure to that part of my shoulder, but for the most part, it's pretty much healed. And that's all idea behind me exercising and working out, because it helps you get better. So that's about it. I gotta shoot this email real quick. Yeah, this is coming up. But hey, it's all about understanding these principles, and it will guide you throughout your workout. Okay? And the funny thing there is that ED is something that is a telltale sign of heart problems. It's the canary in the coal mine. And how is that? Like I just said, if you think about it, when you get a pump, that's your heart pumping blood to the part of the body. If you have ED and your body is not able to pump enough blood to just that small part of the body, or maybe a very big part, depending on you, it's because your heart is not working well enough to do that. And even in reverse, if your body is not pulling blood away from that part of the body when you're not excited, it's still it's a sign of heart problems. Okay, so if you have ED, you're also going to be having heart problems. It may not be reflecting just yet, okay, but it is a problem. You can talk to any doctor you want. Obviously, there might be different, reasons why it's happening, but the fundamental reason behind ED is a poor blood flow and probably a bad pump in the heart. If water is not going somewhere, or fluid is not going somewhere, it's either the pump is bad or there's an obstruction in that part. So either you remove the obstruction or you improve the pump. So if you have ED problems, start taking good care of your heart. You might not have the heart checked out. Make sure you speak to your doctor and figure that out. Don't wait until it's too late. And if you look at it, who are the people that have ED most of the time? Think about it. What age group do you see ED in society? Older people, right? And what do we know about older people? Failing heart. The heart is bad. They're getting old. More clogged arteries and all that stuff. So it just simply flows easy. ED, that had older people. If you're younger and you're having this problem, that's even more intense. That means something seriously wrong. You're going. And talk to your doctor, get it checked out. Okay? So I'm working on this quick email. I'm gonna get back into it. So if you can, do some push-ups, while I'm trying to sort this thing out. And we're gonna continue in a second. Whew. All right, almost done. Click and send, and we're good to go. All right, so let's do some more push-ups. I'm gonna get my vest on because I want this to be intense. Because honestly, doing this without the weight is just not intense enough. And unless I'm like super tired, like towards the end of my workout, I like to wear my vest because then again, it's just the vest weighs on my shoulders as the workout goes on. Because I mean, it's a lot. Into this weight. I'm working as a lot. So let's go ahead and do. So I'll do another 20. Let's do another 20. There you go. All right. Ready? Five. 10. 15. 20. Whew. Oh, where's my squeeze? I'm going to go over some other research that we've talked about before. Many people go to the gym and they don't want to have a workout. I've been to the gym several times, over the years. And there's some people that come to the gym and all they do is cardio. Hop on the treadmill, open their laptop, tablet phone, walk for an hour, leave the gym. Do my jog, leave the gym. I'm ride a stationary bike, an hour, leave the gym. And there's another group of gym goers who use weight to lift weights. Okay, come to the gym, lift weights, never use a treadmill. And lifting weights, we're not talking about using the weights as a cardio, like lifting fast, doing other stuff. They don't. They just lift weights, no cardio, no running a treadmill, no speed workout on the machines. Lift weights, go home after an hour. Those groups are better than those who don't do any exercise. But the most optimal form of exercise, based on research, are those that combine both of those worlds together to give themselves a complete workout. If you can see what I'm doing here, it's calisthenics. But calisthenics involves also body movements, using body weight. With calisthenics, not only are you moving weight, you're also doing cardio with the intensity and the speed you're going with, right? It's not a 1 rep max workout. or what have you. Do multiple reps, go on as fast as you can. So research showed that calisthenics workout, not calisthenics itself, but the workout of blending cardio and moving weight, be it body weight or actual weight, free weight, is the best type of workout. So remember when you go to the gym, try to combine both. Or if you're not going to the gym, you're at home, make sure your workout involves both cardio and moving weights around. If you're doing calisthenics on the pole, that's enough because that's going to involve both cardio and moving weights. So just remember, it's all about, understanding what works best. It elongates your life, it keeps you healthier, keep your heart healthy, allows you to maintain your muscles, allows you to build stronger bones. So it's the best combination. Remember that, guys. Both of those. Calisthenics, lightweight, and overweight and cardio. All right, we're gonna do some dips, 20 dips, and we go from there. All right. Five, 7, 10, 11, 13, 15, 17, 20. Let's go. Take another break. And we'll be back. Oh. Oh goodness. We're back. We're back. Thank you for hanging in there. So like I said, we're doing a marathon today, going for as long as we can, staying fit. And listen, I haven't done this workout for a while, so this is really good. Make up for all that time I wasn't able to show up. So it's all based on research. You gotta put in the required amount of hours, whether it be 1 day a week or 5 days a week. You know, just make sure you stay consistent on the time you put in, not so much how many days you put in. Okay? All right, so up next, we're gonna do some sit-ups. You gotta do some sit-ups. And I'm gonna wear my vest to do the sit-ups because it allows me to have to push up a bit more weight than I normally could. Overload. So I'm also gonna use my leg weights, strap on my leg weights, which holds me down as I'm pulling up. So let's get into it. I don't think I even need to strap it on. I'm basically just gonna have them rest on my leg so that as I'm getting up, it just holds me down. Now we have my vest. Okay. Let's go. All right, we're ready? Let's move this aside. Oh. All right, let's go. Whew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Ah. Whew. Feeling hot again because of this vest. I think that's the only design flaw with say this vest has so far. You can strap it so it doesn't flail around. Or just cut it. So even my shirt off because it's so much heat just wearing it. So I don't know any other design flaw. The material they use is pretty good. If they use a breathable material, but the thing there is that it still has to have like some strength to it because of its too breathable and not tough enough, the weights are gonna rip it apart. So other than that, it's all good. All right, let's do another set of 10. Let's go. Whew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Woo. Let's grab some air. Oh, that feels good. Let's talk about another research. Whew. And the other thing about this research is just to dispel any myths. And it saddens me that myths oftentimes carry more weight than actual facts in many communities and countries. For example, take a country like Nigeria, for example. Even among people who are, I'm going to tell you that some people don't even study, they cheat their way through school and carry all these childish myths without actually practicing and reasoning and thinking. Let's say, for example, a place like Nigeria. Many people believe that working out and building muscle will affect your potency, will affect your ability to have an erection, have the ability to have kids and all that stuff. It just shows you how backward the whole thought process is. And how sometimes people combine their hearsays to what they don't know or understand and misinterpret information they've gotten from scientists, doctors, researchers, or even what they've heard on the news. And sometimes, honestly, I don't like when I hear news outlets talk about research, because oftentimes they misinterpret and misspeak when they talk about research findings. Research findings should only be discussed by researchers, doctors, scientists who understand this research. Having a news outlet disseminate this information will lead to misinformation, miseducation, and misinterpretation. Because half the time, they just want to say something that's funny or fun, or that's, that catches the attention of the masses. And they are tempted to misrepresent the findings of the research. They say, oh, researchers in Israel found out that eating chocolate makes you sexier. Look, like they just say all this nonsense, they misinterpret and misinform the public. It may sound funny and fun, but you're doing a disservice to the people. What is the intent of the research? Why not have the researchers come onto your show and have them discuss the findings of the research? Why not have them, call in the radio and talk about the research instead of you trying to disseminate this stuff? And oftentimes, these researchers, the email information is on the research. You can easily get their contact info or whatever and talk to them. Just for a couple minutes, they'll be happy to disseminate the findings of the research. And we misinform the public, people carry on these myths, misinterpreting stuff. I mean, think about this um, phone game that people do where you whisper something to someone's ear, and then they have to now convey whatever they heard. They won't answer what you said again, say it twice, say it just one time, and they convey that information to the next person. By the time you get to the 10th person, the information spoken by the first person is misinterpreted by is totally different information. Because one person mishears and they transfer what they mishear to the next person, and that person mishears, and it just gets worse and worse. And that's also how bad gossip is. People gossip a lot. You have two people here gossiping, one person gets information, gossiping with another person. Before you know it, it's totally different information. That's why even when gossip, maybe a minor or something bad, it becomes something more terrible by the time it goes around and misinformation. So that's why I think it's always good to have researchers themselves or someone who is a researcher speak about a research. All right, people who are not researchers or scientists should not discuss that research because they don't understand it as well as a scientist or a doctor. I don't want to say if I'm a researcher, okay? I'm educated enough in public health to disseminate all this stuff. So be confident that I understand what I'm saying and I'm interpreting what I'm saying well. So yeah, I just find it so sad, and so these news outlets, they gotta stop. They do this a lot. Once in a while, they do invite doctors to the show for a lengthy conversation, but oftentimes, especially in the morning, they're sending some nasty research that nobody understands, and they want to have fun with it. It sounds funny. Oh, eating cookies makes you stronger, and you don't even know the intent of the research, the original intent of the research. What was it that led to that research? We didn't even know, and it just confused us and misinterpreted. So yeah, so if you hear a research being discussed on TV and it's not a researcher speaking or a doctor or scientist, take it with a pinch of salt. Take what you hear with a pinch of salt, or go read it yourself and try to see if you can understand exactly what's being disseminated or the findings of the research is. Okay, let's do training more without the vest this time. Okay, I wanna. It's just so hot. I'm not gonna lie, it's so hot. I'm gonna do without a vest. 20 straight. Let's go. Five. 10. 15. 20. See, that felt so easy because I took off the vest. The level of difficulty drastically drops once I take off my vest. And, if I have my leg down, it makes it easier. So that's just the whole concept of it. So, if you just start off with pushing off against the wall, and then go down to doing it flat on the ground, and then go next to raising your feet up, and then go next to wearing the vest. You raise the level of difficulty every step of the way. You do a better job building your muscle and staying fit. Yeah. And I can't count the number of times I've emailed TV stations. I'm like, hey, you guys got to stop talking about research. I know some of them are interesting, they sound fun, but your job is to inform and educate, not make a mockery of a research because it sounds interesting and funny. You guys just misinform the public because it just gets worse and worse as that information gets shared and spread around. So yeah. So that's why I want to be sharing research findings to make sure you guys get accurate information, and we slowly, spread that, correct information out there. All right. Whew. Let's catch our breath again. All right, so next, the 20 dips. And then after that, we're gonna do some bicep curls again. Okay. And this is basically just help me to work on my grip. You always want to maintain your grip. Get those muscles in your hands to stay sharp. It also helps with your forearm as well. Helps you build your forearm strength. Because it's all connected, forearm and your grip. They're inseparable. All right? And that's the 20 quick dips. Okay. Ooh. 5, 10, 15, 20. I hope I'm not missing out on the chat because I'm not seeing the chat so far. What's up, Wanka? I'm trying to see what's going on. Maybe I'm having some issues here. Let's go back. Let's go back. Whew. Oh, God. Woo, baby, baby. Whew. All right, let's do a bicep curls. Okay, I'm gonna do a suspension, almost like a dead hang, a dead bicep hang. Let's hold, get these muscles firing. Now, the one thing about lifting weights I've noticed is that the motions we do when we lift weights, like bodybuilders, is often so limited and restricted that we fail to develop a rounded strength. You know, the kind of strength you use when you're like grappling or wrestling, where the muscles have to move in multiple different directions. But if you think about it, you know, when you're doing workout, lifting weights, you have this motion, that motion, that motion, this motion. But when you are grappling wrestling, you have to twist the muscles in different directions, do all kinds of stuff. So trying to build muscles that are functional in multiple directions, not limited in a stiff way. And the guy use free weights and just go around, flow around in every direction. And so that's why it's just good to incorporate using free weights to do all kinds of stuff. Moving multiple directions, because you want to build a rounded strength in the sense that it's functional in multiple directions. Because our body moves in more directions than we're used to while we're working out. And you have to build that muscle memory to be able to channel that strength in different directions. I mean, you see bodybuilders, they go grapple, and then someone who's half their size literally weighs 1/3 their weight or half their weight, just manhandling them. Why? Is overall, besides the skill, just the well-rounded strength and flexibility that comes with grappling, you know, wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. It's a different type of strength that just, you learn to move your muscle in flexible ways. And that's something many people don't have, even those that bodybuild. So that's why I like to use these free weights to move around. And even when I'm in the gym, I try to use the pulleys, because the pulleys are a little bit more flexible. It's just a rope. And I try to use them in different directions, you know. So the pulleys are a way to increase the range of motions. And when I say range of motion, I don't mean in the stiff, you know, up and down, but just how wide and flexible you swing your muscles while you're working out. So it's another high IQ approach to strength building. And tell you what, when you work out and exercise, you release a lot of toxins. Your excretory system works faster. And when it's working faster, you're moving toxins out of your body, out of your system, and you're cleansing your system better when you work out. That's why when people who don't work out or engage in physical activity, they always age faster than people who work out. With everything else consistent, it's just a fact of life. You gotta work out, remove those toxins, and look younger and healthier. So, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. If you don't like working out, find some physical activity that you enjoy doing and do a lot of it to help make up for your exercise in other areas. You know, if you enjoy pickleball, play pickleball for hours on Saturday. You're gonna be running around, moving around, swinging. It may not be as intense as some other exercise, but it's just enough. Find something, like if it's table tennis, if it's soccer, football, whatever it is. As long as it involves a lot of movement, walking, jogging, swimming. And the thing there is that some exercises, the better you get at it, the less muscle you're gonna need to do well at it. You know, if you're a really good golfer, you don't need a lot of energy to get a really good swing. So the technique gets so well tuned with less effort, you do just as much as someone who's not experienced using maximum effort. So My caution is that the more you get at it, the more hours you have to spend doing it to burn more calories. You know, I can go to the gym and bench press, 225, and I can do it in such a way that I use very minimal energy because I have a good technique. And for someone who's just learned for the first time, they maximum effort because they don't have the technique or the muscles. But so just be careful if you're playing basketball. See someone who's really good at basketball, use very little effort, very little energy, and they can do it all. So the better you get at it, the more hours you're gonna have to put in to burn more energy. Well, find something you love doing. You love cycling? Go to the park, ride around the park for hours or cycle, do it with a friend, use it as a way to sightseeing, whatever. But you have to get that physical activity or exercise in. If you have a job that's physically engaging, well, then you're lucky. In construction and lifting stuff, you don't have to go to the gym. You're doing more than enough already. So just words of wisdom there. Okay. So I don't know how many reps I've done so far. Whew. Well, let me do another 20 push-ups and 20 dips. I'm gonna try to do them back to back. Okay. Let's go, guys. All right. Let's go. Quick 20. 5. 10. 15. 20. See, my push-ups are clean, rhythmic. I don't play around. Ten. 20. Whew. Back to back. I think this is a good place to stop for the day. Probably continue later this evening. I appreciate everybody that showed up, that tuned in. Let's do more of this. I'm gonna see you guys next time. Stay blessed. Adieu. Woo! Oh. Ooh. See you next time, people.